Good evening, everybody. This is Andy Karuza with NachoNacho, and I'm pleased today to have Lavie and Tanyette from Overpass. And I'd love to have them do a quick elevator pitch to introduce their product today on today's episode of Nacho Tuesday. So if you'd like, within 30 minutes, Lavie, or 30 seconds, sorry. We only have about 30 minutes for the whole thing. Would you like to tell us more about Overpass and what your guys' vision is for the future?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having us, Andy. Appreciate it. I'm not going to take 30 minutes, but
can if you want. We'll just go 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. So in short, Overpass is a talent marketplace for salespeople, and there are many marketplaces out there today. The big issue is that when it comes to specifically sales, it doesn't work. It's that simple. It's not effective. From actually having like the right salespeople from around the world that are pre-vetted, getting the right insights into their profile, to who they are and what they've done, that's oriented specifically around sales, and being able to actually execute on that with having a real person on the other end that's going to respond. And then of course, having the support on the Overpass side. So ultimately, we're a talent marketplace, a global talent marketplace of pure salespeople that come on to work with primarily U.S. companies.
Great. And what do you see as the biggest problem with having salespeople in today's remote work culture? How can companies get more out of their sales teams as we become more of a globally connected economy with salespeople that you need in multiple regions around the country and even the world?
Well, I think the first thing is people have to open their minds into the possibilities of that the salesperson doesn't have to be sitting right next to you, right? I think that's a lot of like how people think about it, just because that's what they're used to. And there's tremendous talent in many countries around the world. And now that we have that ability to tap into those countries and tap into that talent, we're the only ones that are holding ourselves back from being able to do that. So it's really a mind shift, I would say, number one. And then two is engaging with that salesperson. So not thinking of that person as, well, I've hired them as an outsourced person, and now I don't have to do anything, but rather treat them as a team member, treat them as some part of the company, be hands-on, running morning scrums, run all the data, give all the feedback, run the one-on-ones, and essentially run the team as if they were sitting right next to you.
Yeah, I got to say, I've been working remote for well over a decade now, actually, with people in Europe to India, and now it's really amazing to see what you can get done, even if they're in different time zones, and people even speak different languages sometimes. To be able to collaborate across the world like that. So do you feel that remote work's here to stay, or is it going to be more of a hybrid approach going forward?
Well, first of all, I just want to take a step back, because when people think international and hiring salespeople internationally, I think a lot of people, the misconception, they're automatically thinking about specific types of people from maybe specific countries, maybe India, maybe Philippines, but it's a vast world out there, right? And perhaps the centers or the sources to be able to tap into the talent have primarily focused on specific regions. That we really focus on where the talent excels and where they're also like super motivated to perform for the clients. So like, just as an example, Jamaica. How often do you hear about Jamaica or South Africa? There are these regions that where they speak like fluent English, and they're super motivated to perform. They're super excited about the opportunity. And they're not getting an opportunity like that locally. And when it comes to sales, one of the key things is do you want it? Will, right? Motivation. Like what is your drive like? And unfortunately, a lot of us here in the U.S. are a little spoiled, because we have so much opportunity, and that's not necessarily the case in some of these other regions. So by tapping into these other regions that are super that are really great at selling and are really skilled, and you now added this extra element of them also having that will, having that drive, and being super appreciative for the opportunity. So it really goes a long way. And one of the things that we do at Overpass is bring those attributes around determination, around will, around key insights of the human, of the salesperson that directly impact superstardom, directly impact a great salesperson, and give the insights through their profile. So for clients coming on and looking for someone with those key attributes, they're able to see, if those contractors, if those sales reps actually have those attributes and to what extent.
That's great. Yeah, it's always best when you hire somebody that knows the local market the best and the culture that they're selling into, actually. And it sounds like there might be a lot of great success stories that you guys would have, maybe from some people. You mentioned Jamaica and maybe some other countries. Can you maybe elaborate on some really cool backstories there? Maybe some people that use your platform and found success through it that otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both on the client side and the business side and on the contractor side, there's been tremendous success. In fact, we have over 20 salespeople ourselves. They're actually growth consultants, and they assist our clients in finding the right talent and going through the process and helping them with upfront strategy calls and doing everything that that our clients need to do. So beyond just of course they could do it themselves. And then furthermore, on the contractor side, we get messages all the time about like how we've changed their lives. And they never would have been able to find an opportunity like this from being able to work from home. In fact, we just got one late last week saying that prior to Overpass, they would have to travel in 2.5 hours to their job, work a 12-hour shift, travel back, working 6 days a week, too exhausted to spend time with their wife and kids. And that's like fairly standard in some of these other countries, especially with you're not living in the central business district, and yet you're pretty far out, which many of them are. So now they're able to just wake up in the morning, do what they have to do, jump into their room, get their headset on, get a computer on, and then start working for their client. They literally they don't have to commute at all. All they have to do is just log in and get to work. So from that perspective, it's pretty life changing. And then also from a monetary perspective, in terms of what they would be getting paid locally versus what they were getting paid from the clients that are on Overpass. And then the clients that are on Overpass, for them, it's a game changer. So you're talking about anywhere from like 30 to 50% less than what they would have had to pay locally. And then, of course, it's not just a matter of the money from that perspective. It's a matter of being able to find the right match, right? The right type of talent that has the right expertise in your specific space, in your industry, which could reduce down the burden of the upfront training and just overall being able to, just get the right person on board. As we know, like sales there's a lot of turnover there.
Oh yeah, it seems like it's a revolving door, if you will, for a lot of companies.
Sure.
Well, that's great,
And
Tanyette.
Andy, to that point, to revolving door, I just want to say one more, and then I'll shut up for a minute. But
oh no, it's all about you guys. So
no, so I actually think about this revolving door thing, and I'm like, okay, if the door could be a little less revolving, sure, but imagine if it was super heavy to revolve this door, right? It was a super heavy lift, right? It was like you had to put tons and tons of energy into this. So if it's going to be a revolving door, the same amount of revolving, then you want to put less energy. So that way, okay, at least I get it's a revolving door, but I'm not having to put all this effort and energy into it. And then, of course, then you want to make it a little bit less revolving as well. So I just want to put that out there. But go ahead with the question.
Tanyette, so somebody building partnerships for the company. I'd imagine that you work across the world as well, trying to develop key partnerships that could bring you guys great talent and new partners and sellers to your platform as well too. How do you feel remote work has changed the way that you do your work as a partnership director?
Well, I think it's more expansive. From a personal level, a lot of things Lavie covered for some of our contractors. I feel like I'm in flow state more. There's opportunities more to have more innovative conversations because you're not looking at the world from one singular geography. Now, all of a sudden, you can literally have, for what we do, partners from all over the world, because there's a lot of startups in Scandinavia and mainstream Europe that are looking to come into the US as part of their go-to-market strategy that now could be leveraging, both of our products as partners. So I think it's exciting to know that it's really, the world is much bigger. For me personally, it's great quality of life, and I get to cycle in what works best. For me, I find that I'm more inspired as well. And of course, from a sustainability perspective, carbon footprint is cut in half because I'm no longer doing the commutes I used to do when I was working with my previous life for 15 years. We were always having to come in for a big part of that. But towards the end of my career there, I was way more remote before COVID came in. They did have the model to be able to keep their reps for more than 5 years. Most of their reps were legacy reps for 15 years. So there is a alchemy to be able to create a strong team where it's not a revolving door, by the way. I witnessed that in my career.
Yeah, likewise. Same with NachoNacho. I mean, our team's spread out across the world as well. In fact, I haven't even met quite a few of the team members myself, which I will be next month finally when I go to San Francisco. I'm based in New York, working on my carbon footprint too, just walking everywhere now finally. Unlike in Washington or California, I have to drive everywhere it seems. So that's been kind of nice with this whole shift to remote work culture. Lavie, can you tell us more about how your company was founded? Where did you get the idea, and what got you to start working on this one?
Yeah, sure. So talk about carbon footprint. I started Empire Energy 13 years ago, primarily to reduce carbon footprint, and it's just a great industry to be in. Energy became deregulated in the U.S. in the late 90s. It was kind of like fell into it by accident. It was kind of strange, and then I really enjoyed what I was doing. So I would say the first 4 years, first 4 years, I was very much focused around building like customer engagement teams, and I was trying many different things and to figure out how to build up these teams. I had like zero experience and didn't even really understand customer engagement at all at the time. Prior to that, I came from a real estate background, so I was like managing properties and running operations or running customer engagement was like totally far from each other. But in either case, trying to figure out all the stuff out on the fly, like how do you do this? Like, okay, you need sales, like how do you put together a sales team? And okay, I can try to hire locally. Maybe I can hire like a nearshore team or offshore team. And I ended up going out to like Dominican Republic, and I connected with the Philippines team, and I kind of got burnt a good number of times, primarily from this like couple outfits. This one outfit, like I totally got burnt by them doing some shady things. And so a lot of experiences that I went through there, and I'm thinking to myself, this is, I had connections at the time. I still have connections. I'm a person that has connections. I have a large network, and this is like super, super burdensome for me. Like figuring out all these things out. Like, how the heck am I supposed to be doing all this? And I did it, and it took years of like development of figuring everything out. And I put it all together, and today we have over 175 people. Sales full-time W2 salespeople. I'm saying we have that, and then we have other salespeople too. But and we have customer success teams. But it was really an uphill battle. And like for the average SMB, you're not figuring this thing out so quickly, and it's very difficult to tap into, to hire in-house or to hire overseas. And it just needs to be like this one ecosystem, like this one platform, you could like tap into it, and based on the industry that you're in, and based on the accent that you need, and the language that you need, and the availability, and the rate that you're looking to pay, you can just click, find the people, onboard them, and get to doing whatever customer engagement activity you want to do. So that kind of like led me to the idea of like we should create this like marketplace, this ecosystem of customer engagement.
Yeah, it sounds like a classic entrepreneurial story. You kind of, you're in the problem yourself, and you realize it firsthand, and start trying to figure out a way to, solve that. And you realize a lot of people have the same problem actually. So there might be something there for you to do with it.
Yep.
We actually have a question from the audience as well too. It looks like Alina, I hope I'm saying that right. She asked, what about professionals? How do you find a company to work remotely?
How do you find a company to work remotely?
Yeah. Not just in sales, but like in general, it sounds like she might be looking for, as a professional, where can I find jobs that are strictly remote jobs?
Yeah. So if we're talking about sales specifically, she could sign up on Overpass as a contractor and then connect with the marketplace. So it's on overpass.com, become an agent. But if you're talking about how do you find remote jobs outside of sales, I don't know, Tanyette, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different listings. It depends on what industry she's in.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe she'll come back to us with that, and we could revisit that later.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to work as a contractor, if you're looking more for shorter term gigs, like there are marketplaces out there like an Upwork or Guru or Freelancer. They're very good for if you're looking to do like design or development, programming, copywriting, that type of stuff, like gig work. If you're looking to do more customer engagement, like sales type of work, that's where we shine. So they can jump onto overpass.com and sign up as a contractor. Sorry?
Oh, yeah, I know a lot of people that do that full time. So you guys, specialize in the sales area, of course, and then, depending on a profession, there's other opportunities out there for people as well.
Yeah, it really depends on what they're looking to do.
Yeah. So both of you guys are entrepreneurs, Tanyette and Lavie. What are some tips that you would recommend for other would-be entrepreneurs that want to launch a SaaS product themselves?
Sure. Tread carefully. It's be very, very, very wary in terms of how you step into it, because a few degrees to the right, of course, could take you like years to figure out and backtrack. So before you even get started, before you write one line of code, before you even design, one interface, do the proper research. Understand who your profile is, who you doing this for, it's someone specific, and if it's not someone specific, if it's not a specific profile, then you have to like figure that out, because it really is, you just haven't figured it out yet. And then speak with them, speak to a good amount of them, and aggregate that research and really understand, and speak to people that have been through it as well. So that's what I would say is like, don't jump right in. But do the proper research, understand who it is that you're doing it for, and what kind of pain point you're really solving for that profile.
Yeah, as we were discussing earlier before the call, a lot of people forget about the human element, right? We're ultimately in business to help solve people's problems, and a lot of people sometimes just go in and start building something that that they want to bring to the market and try to find somebody to sell it to. But in reality, the equation is really inverse from that. It's really understanding the customer problem, and then you design your solution and experience around how to best solve that problem in a more efficient or more affordable way for that particular consumer. Tanyette, would you like to expand on any of that? I'm sure you have a lot of great tips. You have a really storied history as an entrepreneur too.
I believe, I believe Tanyette jumped off for a minute, but she'll be back, I'm sure.
Okay, yeah, she's in Norway. She's she might do research on the fjords up there. So, all right, we'll keep on, and when she gets back on, we'll get her involved again. So, I guess, where do you see remote work evolving over the next few years? What other new trends or technology do you really see having an effect to optimize the entire remote work experience?
Yeah, good question. So, beyond trends and technologies, I think remote work is here to stay. I just don't think it's here to stay across every single role and every single maybe type of business, but definitely within every single role. I would say that more, when the disparity between regions is greater in terms of comp, in terms of pay, I would say it would be more prevalent within those types of roles. So like you see, even pre-COVID, it was like, within the development space, right? The engineering space, it was already like super, super popular to hire, overseas engineers. It just because like, you go to, I don't know, New York or San Francisco or wherever it might be, and you're paying probably more than double than you would be paying out in, Ukraine, or I mean, Ukraine's a bad example right now, but let's say Romania, and some of these other countries. And the same thing would apply with like customer engagement, right? So it's like if you're looking to hire like local customer engagement talent, there's a major disparity between here locally versus overseas. So I think that's the key thing is like look at the roles specific where that you have that disparity, especially with like inflation and everything that's going on in the economy today. So I think businesses are looking to really like save and cut costs and so they're going to look at roles where you have that wider disparity. And then the second thing is the work itself. How much of that work is digitized? Yep. So how much of that is digital? So how much of that work are you actually on a computer, like doing things? So I think that the roles that have more of the work where you're connected or interconnected with digital, right? With something digital, with a computer, essentially. I think also those types of roles are going to be more prone towards remote and overseas and all of that. And so that's my take on it. I think the other types of roles are more collaborative in nature, and also maybe more executive level. Maybe today it's not, it kind of COVID, even on executive level, I think people are still very remote. But I think over time, on an executive level and upper management level, I think I think teams and companies are going to start coming back together and trying because it is that collaborative aspect when you have those type of collaborative type of roles and also type of just dynamic. I think it's important for you to be under one roof.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I could see more of like a hybrid approach maybe because I think there is some good work-life balance, especially depending on the job role, of course. Not everybody, unfortunately, gets the opportunity to work remote because the work requires you to be in a physical place. But, I could see a hybrid work role too in the future because I do think there's some good work-life balance when some people get to do that at home. But I do see a shift back to the office, at least partially, as I agree. Because the collaborative nature of being in the office together is just it's pretty effective. So I could see it more.
Yeah, totally. And like, it's interesting. Our content strategist will work on this project and she needs to be like, she works here in our Brooklyn office and she's just like, okay, I got to focus, get this thing done. And she's like, okay, I'm going to work from home, the next day, 2 days, whatever it might be. And then, so yeah, totally. So you'll have that, that shift where it's like, okay, in office, collaborative, but then when I'm just like need to get my head into something, knock it out, then I'm going to work a little bit from home. So you have that, happen as well, even with the type of roles that are more collaborative by nature.
And we got Tanyette back. Great to see you. So
I'm afraid to turn on my mic.
We'll get you right into it again. We have another question for you. What's some pitfalls that companies and entrepreneurs should look out for when hiring remote employees? Is there any potential red flags or negatives that you've heard of in the past that company owners or managers should address when hiring and managing remote workers?
I think it starts from the intention behind when you're hiring that person, right? If you're clear about who that hiring persona is, how it's in alignment with your internal culture, how you're going to support them, that you have a higher chance of having success with a dialed in hiring persona than when you're just bringing them in with the transactional mindset of managing team members. Because when you're a startup, who wants to manage anyone? You want people that are going to inspire you equally, that are coming in, they see the vision, they want to grow with you. That's a way more exciting place to hire from. So I think the pitfall starts in the intention on how someone's going in to hire in the first place before we go throw it on the actual person that's being hired in. And a lot of times we find people hiring and they still don't have their processes all thought out, right? They're bringing someone in and it's still like this deer in headlights moment where they don't even have their sequences all the way dialed in. They're not empowering the team. And these are things that I have to say with Overpass. And what one of our biggest differentiators is that he talks about customer engagement, but it's also customer experience. Like he layers in a team of 20 growth consultants to handhold, a potential founder through this process or a business owner that's already overwhelmed. And we're SaaS. I mean, the platform has AI and sure, people could go in and try to self-serve, but they're already overwhelmed. So having a layering in to remind people, why are you hiring in? What's your mid state and future state? Do you want envision? And does that person match that? I feel like it's important when we're talking about that revolving door mentality. If you can catch that in the early stages, you have less of that on the back end. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm not saying that there's people who don't interview like great, but when they start working for you, it might be a different scenario. But I think a lot of that could be caught in the front end if you go into it with a different mindset. That's just my opinion on it.
I agree. I think it's important for the company to have a really strong culture thought out. Who are we before you go out and hire other people? So that way you can, really dictate and communicate what those values are. And if you know what your values are and you know who you are as a company culture, it's way easier to attract that type of person in the first place. And then number two, communicate those values and find if there's alignment there between you and the potential employee. I was meeting with a seller last night actually here in New York, and one thing that came up actually was how to hire great talent. And he asked me what I look for myself, and I told him buy the why, right? And I believe if you hire people that believe in the why for your company and your product and why you're doing the things you're doing as a company, that's more likely to be a better hire than somebody that might just, they might even have twice the experience as the person, but if they're not motivated to solve your customer's problem and believe in the mission of your company, then it's going to be really hard to naturally motivate those people and get that 110% out of people. And honestly, if people like the work that they do, they never really work it in their life. So those are the type of people that I look for personally.
Agreed.
Great. So a question for the both of you guys again. What are some key considerations companies should have when they're we'll skip that one actually. Okay, so what are some of the favorite books that you're reading right now and over the last year? I know we discussed a few prior that you guys might want to bring up again, and maybe introduce a few others if you will for the audience.
Yeah, Tanyette's more interesting than me, so.
No, I'm not. I read nerd books. Like, I'm really a nerd when it comes to like human. I really love connecting with humans and how we're wired, because we're wired for certain things. So the books I read, it's not to say I don't read business books, I do, but I find business books more interesting when I can delve deeper into the human psyche. So two of the books I've read in the last year that I felt were very profound, and it actually explains why we're experiencing the things that we're experiencing in business and in life and the chaos that we're seeing around us. One is by Charles Eisenstein. It's called The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible. And he wrote it 10 years ago. But the big basis behind that book is about how nature, right? Nature is the biggest example of an ecosystem because everything is interconnected. And it's a thriving ecosystem. And he talks about, because as humans, we see ourselves separate from the environment, see ourselves often even separate from our neighbors or our business community. This is why we're having a lot of the problems that we're having. And when you can shift that to small, random acts of kindness and really looking things more in alignment with purpose, how that's been the only thing that's ever shifted in a profound way, like trajectories that look like they were going really, really dark. It's a great book, but you would have to want to read through that. And it crosses over nature, sustainability, ecology, business, et cetera. And then the other one that I thought was really profound, it came out right before COVID, was The Smell of Rain on Dust, which is about grief and how Western culture isn't really set up to go through grief, even the many losses that we have, whether it's a job or, the experience we had with COVID, outside of just even death of a lost one. And it shows how when grief isn't metabolized, how it shows up in business culture, how it shows up in the things that we're seeing across the globe. So those two books are really profound. But if you really wanted to dive in deep to see the world a little bit differently, I would highly recommend reading them.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I mean, a lot of people look at bad as being bad, but in many cases, it could be an opportunity. It could be, a way to reflect on, what you've learned from something, or even open you up to new opportunities in general. So I think that perspective is really key for a lot of people to have. And I would agree. I think especially even in a U.S. culture, we're not very good at handling failure. We think that failure is such a bad thing. But in my belief, I feel like failure is just, it's an opportunity to learn and, become better and move on to, bigger and greater things, right? So, I tell a lot of entrepreneurs, even, when they fail at their products and their businesses, which I've been there before too, I've always looked back on it, with a laugh or a smile on it. I say, I can't believe I did that, but I learned something from it every time, right? And I think anybody out there that's, that's looking for success in their career, I mean, keep that in mind, right? You might fail, but, it's an opportunity to grow and, go on to bigger and better things. Looks like we're at our 3 minutes. We're at the 30-minute mark. So I'd love to give you guys the closing spotlight. Of course, Nacho Tuesday is all about you guys, the sellers on our platform. So, and we really appreciate you guys coming in here today. And I would love to have you guys, tell us what you think is next for Overpass and where do you see the company in the next 5 years?
Sure. Yeah. So right now it's a matter of just diving deep into our customers and understanding them holistically and really what the pain points are and what their needs are. A lot of my time personally I spend just with customers and getting to know exactly where their heads are at, and if there's what additional value that we could provide to them that's still within our space. And so that said, it's a matter of all comes down to like customer engagement, and these businesses, a lot of them just don't have what they need. There's tons and tons and tons of technologies, tools for them to use out there today, but it's kind of overwhelming, right? There's just so much out there. It's a bit overwhelming. So kind of next steps for us is really like being able to simplify the process for businesses when it comes to customer engagement. Right now, we're very much focused on sales. That is what we're doing from a marketplace perspective. But the goal there is to simplify bringing customer engagement into their business in an effective way, not just on the sales front, but down the line, even outside of sales, from customer support and other forms of customer engagement. So 5 years out, that's definitely where I see us in all forms of customer engagement within SMB space, simplifying the lives of these SMBs around customer engagement.
Great. And if anybody's interested in knowing more about Overpass, you can visit it today in the NachoNacho marketplace. We have it there for a great discount, and you could also visit them at overpass.com. Is that correct?
Overpass.com. That's correct.
Great. And I see some people have some great questions here as well. So, we're going to get to you guys definitely. So we might, take all these questions down. We'll probably write them down and we'll get answers to you guys, and we'll post them into the event page. So everybody gets their questions answered. But that's it for today for Nacho Tuesday. This is our second one. We appreciate everybody's time for coming in, and Tanyette and Lavie, of course. I know your guys' time is very valuable, and I think we learned a lot from you guys today and how to survive, thrive in the remote work culture. And we found out about a really cool new tool that a lot of people probably didn't know about yet. So,
perfect. Thank you so much, Andy. Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.